Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. Welcome to the Sunday chat. It's raining. It's that drizzly rain that you sort of look out and go, is it actually raining? And you can see some spots and you think, yeah, I think it is. And if you go outside, within 2 minutes you're soaking wet. As Mojo was when he came back in just now. I think he probably thought the same thing. You know, he went out, put his nose out the door and thought, oh, it's not so bad. Wandered off, came back in covered in like sparkles. The bits of all of his individual hairs had a raindrop on them. He's curled up on his blanket now in the warm. Right, yesterday Orchid Show. Although I must admit I spent most of it sat in the restaurant, cafeteria, canteen. I don't know what you call it. Place where you get some food and some drinks. Different. The names apply to different types of places where there's food and drink, you know. But anyway, spent a lot of the time there chatting to people who popped in and whatever. So I got there early, deliberately, so that I could get myself a coffee and have a chat to some people who I knew would be outside because the judging would be going on. The judging takes place right up to the sort of public opening time. So most people are kicked out at that point, so they go and sit in there so I could have a chat with people. So that was the plan, and did that, and even after it opened I still stayed there chatting to people. People who'd already been in because they were members, so they'd already been in and had a look round sort of thing, whereas I hadn't. So eventually I went in, I had a quick scan round the cellars to see if there was anything I fancied buying, and I came away from that look with nothing. There was nothing I fancied at all. I thought, well, we might be going home empty-handed here. But later, on another trip round, I spotted what I call an Arthur special on the Burnham stand. A single plant tucked round behind others because it wasn't in bloom, hiding. So I did come back with that plant. I grabbed that one. It was the only one for sale anywhere. The only one of that type. Can you tell what it is yet? I have some already. And I also bought another one of one I've got that's not doing very well. And although this one's not a brilliant plant, it's doing better than the one I've got. It's like a backup, if you see what I mean. So we have got some plants to look at, and some other things as well, which I'll do all that at the end. Now my friend Allan was there. He didn't drive, he got a lift, which is good. He's not well, but he's okay now. I think it was a matter of trying to find out what the hell was wrong with him and then giving him the right treatment for it. So he's sort of up and running, but sadly he's lost a lot of plants over the times in hospital. So he said he's lost a lot of his frags and a lot of his Draculas in particular, and other things are not looking good. So, he'll run with what he's got, but he's decided now he really has got to downsize and take it easy and stop doing so much. He's got a huge garden, all sorts of things. He's up to something all day long, and he helps other people with their gardens and things. So he's decided he's got to take it easy now, and he will be downsizing his collection, as a consequence of taking it easier, because it's just too much work for him. And he realises now that if he's away for a relatively short time, then things start going wrong. But he's okay, and he made it there okay. He wasn't up and running and charging around like he normally is. He, like me, spent a lot of the time sat in the canteen with a coffee in front of him, or whatever. So, but he's okay. That's the main thing. He's okay. So that was that. What else? The show like most autumn shows compared to spring shows, are not as well attended, quite honestly. It was pretty busy first thing, a good bustle, you know, good few people and everything, but the afternoon part, I mean, I was stood in there sort of thinking, did somebody shout fire? And I missed it because there were so few people around. I mean, both Sarah and Arthur were there, and at one point I'd picked a plant up. Was it a plant? No, it wasn't a plant, it was something else. I'll show you later. And I stood there and I thought, well, where the hell are they? You know, neither of them were there. The stand was completely unmanned, and that given that there was two of them as well. Now, there was two of them because these are the sorts of things that are going to become difficult, if not almost impossible, in the future. Not too distant future either. Arthur and Sarah were there because they came to the Bournemouth show and did that. They were then going to pack up and drive to Nottingham to stop over to do the East Midlands show the next day and then come back. So that's why they did two of them, yeah, to lighten the load and everything. So, you know, I chatted with several people about what will Sarah do, what will become of that nursery when Arthur retires. I think he's got 4, 5, 6 years, so it's not imminent, but apparently he will be retiring, but he might do a little bit in the nursery, perhaps a couple of days a week, and he wouldn't mind carrying on doing a few shows that he would like to choose. But he's not doing all the shows like he is now, because that is, I mean, if you think of that, you know, somebody who's, I mean, he's not old yet, not like me, not old git, but you know, I mean, he's in the nursery at 3 or 4 in the morning, loading the van up, getting ready to go, doing a perhaps 3 or 4 hour drive, unpacking the van, setting it all up, manning the stand all day, normally on his own, packing what's left all back in the van, long drive home, and then they leave the van in the building overnight and unload it the next day. But that's a hell of a day out, you know, on your own as well, with the responsibility and everything that goes with it. So when he stops doing that, I doubt if anybody else will. But hopefully Sarah will still keep going. I mean, the online business does well, that's good. And the nursery itself will probably host a few more special events so that it's in-house, nobody has to go anywhere. That will help bring in more customers and stuff like that. Perhaps a bit more publicity going around to keep it all going and everything. We shall see. Talking to one guy, the number of actual nurseries in this country you can probably count on one hand now. It's gone right down to next to nothing. There's still a couple of specialist nurseries around, like Elite Orchids, Paphiopedilum specialists, and there are a few others, and Burnham's and Lawrence Hobbs, you know. As soon as you take those two away, and Elite Orchids, those three, shall we say, you've got a job to think of another one. As I said, there are a couple more, but not many. And the people who run them, like Lawrence, he's past retirement age, he's carrying on because he said, I need the money, I can't stop. It's one of those, he'll work till he drops. I think he loves it. But yeah, you know, people are getting on a bit, you know, they can only run a business for so long. We got to the point and said, what will it be like in 10 years' time? How many nurseries will still be open, still running? And what will the orchid scene be like? Because we can't, without a proper import, you know, license and everything, and the paperwork and the cost and everything that goes with it, we can't get your orchids from any other country. We're stuffed. I mean, we've always had the import problems, you know, from anywhere other than the EU, but now we lost that because of Brexit. So, you know, there won't be any good stuff coming in. There'll be, you know, Phalaenopsis and a few other things coming across via the supermarkets and things like that. Will that be where you get orchids from now on? The supermarkets and garden centres? Will that be all there is? You know, So it's a slightly worrying time, but I'm getting on a bit as well. And by the time we get to 10 years' time, I probably won't give a monkeys one way or the other. We shall see. I'm not saying that definitely, but who knows. Right, so that was that. I was a strange person because walk around the show and everything, sort of in the morning sort of thing. Got to lunchtime and I thought, right, let's go and see who's in there and sit with somebody and have a chat over lunch sort of thing. And I had a full English breakfast for lunch. On the grounds I didn't fancy anything else that was on the menu, and all I'd had for breakfast was a little pack of OT biscuits. That's all I'd had all day, so I had a full English breakfast for lunch. And then I didn't need a meal when I got home, so I didn't have to muck around, you know, so that worked out okay. It did look strange though, me eating breakfast and everybody else has got, like, you know, salads and fish and all those sort of lunchy type things, as me sat there with a big breakfast. It was nice though. It was nice. Yeah, so what else? We've done Allan. My son came round during last week to have a look at the decking to see what the job entails, and he's quite happy to go for that. So we've arranged that at some point he'll give me a bit of notice. His main days when he doesn't have many customers are Tuesdays and Thursdays. So the plan is to pick on like a Tuesday or a Thursday when he knows he's got work for a bit in you know, days either side, but he's busy at weekends, so he's not really free at weekends, and he has to work when his customers are free to be a customer of his, and that's normally when they're not doing their own jobs. Yeah, so he's agreed that on a given day with a following wind on the weather forecast, he'll come round with his tools and everything. His tools are all high power tools, but battery, not so we don't need cables all over the place and stuff. And we'll take it all apart and have a look at what's needed and discuss that sort of thing, and then he'll go away. And I'll organise getting all the replacement parts, which are, you know, timber lengths and sizes and things like that. I can get it all measured up, get it organised, and then let him know when it's all ready to put back together again, and then we'll do the same thing again. He'll come down for the day, or part of a day, and we'll put it all back together again. And then this time when it all goes back together, it can have a couple of coats of decking oil to sort of protect it longer term. Although I could have already put 2 or 3 coats of decking oil on that. It wouldn't have stopped it falling apart, because it's the stuff underneath that's gone, not the boards on the top. I mean, apart from one long board has lost, it's got like teeth out of the end of it, started to rot at the end, and a couple of the shorter ones, the decking boards are actually okay. They'll get reused. I'll probably have to buy 2, one long one and one to cut up to replace the shorter one. So we won't need a lot of decking boards to get it all going again. So that's organised. Now it's my grandson Bodhi's birthday on it's the 3rd of October, but coming soon. But they're going to London for his birthday. Basically mainly to go and see the Science Museum and see the dinosaurs, because he's nuts on dinosaurs. He's nuts on, I was going to say strange things, but not really for a youngster. He likes diggers, tractors and stuff like that, because where they live most of the time is surrounded by farms and things like that. So he likes diggers and tractors and all things like that, and dinosaurs. Those are the things he likes to play with. So with agreement with my son, this is what I got for him, and I'm going to have to take it there. I'm not posting it, so I've arranged to go over there Tuesday evening next week and take his present and his card and everything with me. But this is what I got. Oh, as I said, in agreement. Oh, we've got that. So you've got a Land Rover, a trailer. The trailer's got a digger in it. He loves all that sort of stuff, construction stuff. It's got a little man that you can sit in the digger or in the Land Rover. The Land Rover doors open, the bonnet opens, there's a little steering wheel that comes out through the sunroof that you can drive it along with. So that's what I got him. It's quite amusing. It was from Amazon, but from the EU. So it went through 3 customs offices and 3 separate Amazon depots to get to me. So there was obviously a customs office in the country I bought it from. There was the customs office on the coast where it left the EU. There was a customs office on the coast where it arrived in the UK, so that was those 3. And as I say, 3 separate Amazon depots as well. One in the EU, 1 central depot as part of the docks, you know, when it landed in the UK, and then another one nearer me before it went out on a van to come to me, sort of thing. And they said it will be arriving on Sunday. That's today. I had a look on the calendar. So when I looked in my email, when I got home yesterday, it said delivered. So I went out, they'd thrown it over the gate, because I wasn't in. Well, I wasn't meant to be in, they said Sunday. So arriving a day early, you know, people stay in to take collections of parcels and things like that. So that's naughty, so they just threw it over the gate. They didn't get an answer on the buzzer. Luckily it was I'll show you, because this is, I suppose, a necessity, but what a waste. This is the box it came in. That's what that long thin box came in. Now I've got to try and get rid of that. Now I'm going to have to break that up into pieces so that I can get it in the dustbin. I mean, it will go for recycling, yes, but the size and cost of the package. It's more than double the size of the box that was inside of it. But luckily that's probably why it survives being thrown over the gate. I mean, the other thing I was expecting that got thrown over the gate was a new windscreen wiper for the rear windscreen, the one on the back, because that one's started to peel off. You know, the very fine blade that does the wipey bit is peeling away from the thicker bit that, you know, attaches to the metal that flaps around. That's not exactly getting the back windscreen clean when it's a typical estate car. When the weather's not too clever and the roads are wet and everything, you can't see out the back because of the spray. The spray seems to collect on the rear window, so the the windscreen wiper on the back has to go on every now and again to be able to see out, basically, see what's coming up behind. But yeah, they threw that over the gate as well. So, but you'd have a job to damage that. The sort of thing that would be damaged that is some idiot folding the parcel in half to get it in my post box. They do some silly things, some of these delivery people. Right, so that's that. Right, what's going on out here? I heard from somebody who I'll assume should know, but not necessarily because they don't use the thing, but somebody at the Orchid Show yesterday that said a hot box, sulfur fumes won't kill mealybugs and scale. Well, if you think when I started using that, I virtually eradicated the scale in this place, so I know it deals with scale. Now it might not eradicate them completely, but I know it deals with them. Whether it does mealybugs or not, I can't really say, because although there are a few getting about in here, they've come in here. I know exactly where they've come from. They've come from bought-in plants from 2 places, the only 2 places I buy plants from. Because they're the only 2 places I can buy plants from nowadays. That's Spice Exotic and Burnham's. And I've had plants come in with mealybugs from both places, which is annoying. Because that's something I've never had, is mealybugs. I've got on the Phalaenopsis on the kitchen windowsills, but last time I watered them, I had a job to find any because I brought them all out here when I put the hot box on. So the hot box will go on again this coming week, so that'll be 3 successive goes I've had. I think I need to extend the time because the ratio of the volume of air in here to the size that sized hot box is recommended for, I'm right up the top end. So it might need longer to, you know, to concentrate the fumes in this place, make them stronger to do the job a bit better, perhaps. Perhaps we'll do that, maybe. It's gone. Either I've gone deaf or I think it's stopped raining. I think it's actually stopped raining. We're next door are on holiday for 2 weeks. There's a bonus there, because although that doesn't really affect me, because they don't make any noise, so it's not like, oh, it'll be nice and quiet, because they don't make any noise, hardly know they're there. But both of their cars are on the drive, so he's actually brought his car into the carport, so it normally stays out on the road. The only time he's ever brought it in before was for Christmas. Because obviously a time off sort of thing. I think they had a week off or something. But yeah, so both cars are on the drive now, sort of over to one side. They're not in my way or anything. You know, so yeah, so they'll be missing. So the bonus of that is the music room is upstairs against their wall. So noise that I would make in the music room would probably transfer through the wall, given the noise I used to hear from my previous neighbours with the music blaring and everything. So I know exactly what sound can travel through the buildings. If they're away from it for a fortnight, I might be able to get up in the music room and not have to worry about making sure everything goes through the headphones. Maybe. Not saying definitely. Maybe we'll go up there and see if we can get it all going. That'll be half a day, just remembering what plugs into where and trying to get the software to talk to all the external units and stuff. That'll be half the blinking day gone. Let alone actually making some music. My main problem will be is that I mean, I don't play keyboards as such. I can play some chords and do a little bit. But that's it. So I'd rely on the little MIDI unit to go through filters and stuff to make beautiful sounds, rather than me playing them, you know. I mean, I can just do a 3-chord like that and make it sound like a full orchestra with the software when I can get it going. But the guitars are the problem, the 2 6-string guitars. My hands are soft now. I won't be able to play them for very long without getting sore fingers. And those sore fingers won't be better the next day, they'll take a while. So I'd have to start playing far more regular to harden up the pads, you know. Otherwise I'll have the same problem every time I go to play them. And play my bass for a long time because they're thick, they're wire wound. I don't have tape wound strings, I have wire wound because I like the chunkier sound. But they're big enough that they don't hurt, and I can play that for a long time. Not that I would need to. And the drums, obviously, it's they don't make a noise. Well, they make a pit 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 sound because they're electronic. You know, they're just pads basically. You know, even the cymbals are just a rubber pad. It's the software that makes the noises, and I play those through the headphones. Although I haven't done for ages. I think the last person to have a go on them was Hannah. She used to have a drum kit. She played drums for a while. But yeah, it's a matter of getting it all going and getting it all to talk to the software on the laptop and coordinate it together to be able to make music, you know. So we may have a go. I mean, it's the sort of thing I could do tomorrow on my day off. The only watering I would have to do tomorrow is the mounts. Cymbidiums are due Tuesday or Wednesday, something like that. But, we shall see. That's a maybe, not a definite. And a lot of it is what's putting me off is the software side of things, not not the playing. I mean, my idea would be to just compose a short piece, just 4 bars or something like that, and put all the instruments together and layer them so that they all play back as like a piece, you know. So that would be the goal. Whether we ever get there or not, we shall have to wait and see, won't we? Right, so out here, with my smart meter, I now know where my costs are going in the winter. If I put the house heating on, so that, you know, put the gas central heating on, it costs 40 or 50p to get the system up to temperature. And then after that, it costs next to nothing to run it. So I think I could probably have it on all day without it costing a real fortune. It's this heater. As soon as that kicks on, my smart meter goes right up in the red. You know, you're way over budget. Okay, it's not on for long, but then it repeats. And recently it's been on every night, on and off, to keep my minimum temperature. Now this morning when I came down, it wasn't on, and it hasn't cut in at all today, because it's a little bit warmer. It's milder. We've got the rain rather than the clear skies, and you know, it was borderline heading towards a frost. I was, you know, thinking about bringing my Deesers in. Now on the subject of the Deesers, I asked Allan gently. I was going to take a picture on my phone of my Deesers to go in and show Allan what mine looked like. But I'm glad I didn't, because it would be a bit like rubbing his nose in it, because that, he said he thinks he's lost them all. So that's him. The other person I know that would be there that grows Deesers is Ken. He's the chairman of Bournemouth Orchid Society. He bought some of the ones at Burnham's when they were for sale, and his were doing okay. I asked him how his were doing, and he said he's lost a lot of them. He hasn't got much left, and it sounds like he repotted his, and that's when they went downhill fast. So I think I'm a winner by not doing any of that stuff, especially when it was hot. So I think by leaving them alone and putting them outside, I'm the winner. I'm the one that made the right decision for once. But you know, all 3 of us were new to the flipping things, you know. The only difference is Allan wouldn't have had access directly to the internet. He's not that sort of person, you know. He's one of those, he just grows stuff. Doesn't seem to need to know that much about it. Whenever he gets near anything, it normally just grows. But yeah, he thinks he's probably lost all of them. And Ken certainly lost an amount of his, and what he said, what I've got doesn't look too clever either. So so mine are going into winter, what I've got left are going into winter looking strong and healthy, and are still actively growing. So yeah, win-win at the moment. As a consequence, if I come across some more, I will bump up the stocks. But this time they will be chosen carefully for the size and colour of the blooms, rather than somebody else choosing for me, if you see what I mean, which is what happened last time. So yeah, we'll be specific about what I'm after, and if I can't have that, then I won't get them, you know. So that's that. Yeah, so the heater is the thing that costs me the money basically, but I've got to have it, you know. I can't let this place go down any more than I do. I'm down to the bare minimum. I've got it set to 12. Yeah, so that's my minimum temperature. That's the same as Burnham's have got for their intermediate and cool section. So that's where it's going to have to stay, and we will get mild winter periods when, you know, the heater's not needed, and we'll get periods probably when the flipping thing even needs to be on during the day to keep it above 12. You know, I mean, we get days when it doesn't come up above freezing outside all day long, you know. We haven't had many of those in more recent years because of the general warming that appears to be going on, that not everybody believes. But just have a look at the wildfires in your own country, mate, and how more frequent and how more vigorous they are. What's that? Magic, is it? Is there a wizard starting them? Oh, I don't know. But yeah, you know, and there's lots of other indicators that are not good news, especially where the wildlife and the oceans and things are concerned. You know, there'll be places where coral will die. Now that changes the whole concept of certain parts of the ocean, you know. They just get too hot. Our ocean is, you know, around our coastlines, our coastal waters are warmer than they've ever been, I think, this year. So it makes a difference. We're getting species of fish and things around our coast that we don't get, like sharks and things, and octopuses, octopi, things with 8 doodads and tentacles. We're getting those. We don't normally get many of those, but there's a lot more of that going on. So things change, you know, and our butterfly world is, we're getting more influxes from the continent coming across the channel. With the warm airflow coming up from the southwest, it basically picks stuff up, brings them across the channel. All they've got to do is take off, and the wind, the breeze will bring them across. So we're getting quite a bit more of that. And some are now surviving the winter because they're milder. They can get sheltered somewhere or can breed before winter sets in. Whatever phase they go through the winter as, whether it's eggs or chrysalis, they're surviving where they didn't used to. So we're getting a spring brood of native migrants. That's not the right expression, but you know what I mean. Things that came in on the breeze last year and stopped over and, you know, hatched out in the spring. So things are changing. And we've got wetlands that are now so dry after this year that a lot of the waders didn't breed. They don't know where their food is. They've all dried up. So places that should be, you know, wet with reeds growing out and stuff like that have just dried out. Water levels are so low. Now, ultimately, if we have a really soggy wet winter, not a cold winter, that should put things on track to get them back to where they should be. But whether it will completely replenish the stocks, the problem is with wetlands and places like that, if they dry out, is everything that lives in the water is dead. So fish, you know, invertebrates, any creatures, they're going to die, aren't they? And that's the food chain, completely messed up. So there are consequences. Who knows, in 50 years' time they might be talking about climate change in a different way because it's getting colder and colder and colder and everybody's having to get fur coats out. It has gone like that. I mean, if you look over history, going back in time, those waves have actually happened before. We've had hot periods, we've had cold periods. You know, age of the dinosaurs, hot steamy jungles everywhere, you know, and volcanoes going off and stuff like that, you know. So, and we've had ice ages, you know. So it chops and changes, but not in individuals' lifetimes. That's the thing that's unusual. Normally takes a very long time for these changes to happen. So the only thing I can say with reasonable certainty is that we, this time, have speeded up the change process by being here and existing. And like lots of things, the damage was done before we realised we were doing it. And then, like everything else, once we realised we were doing it, it takes an awful long time for people, governments, to get their act together to try and do something about it. And in my personal opinion, it's a waste of time now. It's too late. You've blown it. So all this getting your special light bulb, yes, it may help. You're not going to turn it round. Not now. It's too late. So whatever's going to happen, I believe is going to happen. We may be able to alter the rate, but not the direction. So damage is done. It's like I can remember, like smoking. You know, we all know it's bad for us now. We choose to ignore that, you know, if we choose to ignore it, given the choice. But, you know, when I was young, I mean, my dad was a heavy smoker. You know, all the film stars in the films smoked. You know, you see people driving along in cars with their cigarette. You know, everybody smoked. It was trendy to smoke. We didn't know the harm it was doing. Then we found out, then we knew, then we told everybody, and those that wanted to chose not to start or chose to give up. So, you know, once you know, you know. What the Industrial Revolution, we didn't know what harm we were going to do, chucking out all that smoke and muck. We didn't know. Now we do. It's definitely too late for that one then. Time has passed. So, yes, out here, rather than the workload is down, heading towards its minimum now. The gaps between watering are starting to get longer. Days are shortening quite dramatically now. Temperatures, the sun has gone. It won't touch the roof now till about May next year. So it will never get warm in here now until May next year. Middle of April into May, the sun starts creeping up the roof again, when it's out, when there is some sun. So until then, it stays cool, which now suits most of the orchids that are in here. So I've changed a lot of what I grow. So it is, I still think, one of the most important things if you're going to start collecting orchids and get a reasonable sized collection together, is know your environment and know it well. And then get plants that you know are going to work in it, or have a good chance of working in it. You'll still get an odd duff plant that won't perform. We all do. Like one of the ones I'm going to show you any minute now. Well, the coffee's getting cold, so we've probably been waffling long enough. We're over half an hour. So we'll have a look at the new plants and what I came back with. Let me just get this big toy out the way. I'm sure Bodie's going to be over the moon with that. Right, first of all, this has got nothing to do with yesterday, but as they're still in here and I haven't taken them out, I got some of these. Those of you who saw the video after Hannah was down about the work we did in the garden, you'll know that a very large clump of bamboo Hannah cut down to the ground over in that corner by the decking, yeah? And these are English bluebells to go in that shady area. I was just going to say I'll show you a picture, but no I won't. Yeah, so I got some English bluebells to go in that shade, because that is a shady area, you know, even in the heat of summer with all the sun blaring down when it's at its highest, those shrubs keep that corner shady, you know, up by the decking towards the fence on the boundary. So we're going to try and get some bluebells going there, and if they take off, they will clump up and form some nice clumps. They're one of my favourite English wildflowers. I like ferns, primroses and bluebells, all of which are doing their thing at the same time in our woodlands. So it's before the main flush of leaves have come out. So you've got dappled shade, and you've got the primroses, the lovely yellows, you've got the purpley blues of the bluebells, and the new fern fronds unfolding. And those three together, to me, are just what typifies an English forest, basically. Specifically oak and beech. But anyway, that's that. Right, so what did I come back from Burnham's with? First of all, not from Burnham's, from the show, although this did come from Burnham's. I've got some very small seedling grade bark. Now I paid over the odds for this, but I don't need much of it. This is for putting round the tops of pots, like that oncidium, the last repot that I did. Those new roots on that oncidium would benefit from a centimetre layer of this round the top of the pot. so that it's tight where the roots are. So they push down into it, they get their moisture and everything, then they come out the bottom of this into the bigger media that then won't stay wet so long. So this will help hold a little bit of moisture near the top of the pot. Now it's damp from condensation because they take big bags and rebag it into smaller amounts. So what I do, as I've had this before, it's not a problem. It's not a problem as long as there's no mould in there. If there's mould in there and it's left there for a long time, damp and cold, then it will spread. Yeah? But what I do is I open the pack and I lean it against the radiator in there where I keep all my equipment in the corner there. So I actually lean it against the radiator with the top of the bag open. And after a while it will be absolutely bone dry. And once it's dry and the bag's open, it never gets damp again. So that's that. And then we have, I'll turn the camera around because we've actually got the unbagging to do. Arthur said, I suppose you want this wrapped up, do you? Oh, of course. Right, so I'm leaving it on the tripod. I'm just bringing it around here so that you can see what's going on. Drop it down a bit. There we go, something like that. Something around there. That'll do. Right, let's get the dehumidifier. So the dehumidifier is still needed during the day. It kicks in now and again. It cut in several times this morning when I opened that door because it changes the temperature, which changes the relative humidity. But with the heater running for parts of the nights on most evenings, probably, not all but most, it's drying the atmosphere in here because it's a dry heat. It's an electric fan heater which, you know, dries the air. So between the two of them, you know, they're both needed and don't come on at the same time, obviously. They take it in turns. One does the daytime shift and one tends to do the nighttime shift. Right, so the first one I'll show you is a backup plant. And I'll get the plant, it's the backup for, it's actually got a bloom on at the moment, but it's not a happy plant by any means. And you need to try and find out why this happens. This is my Dendrobium Victoria Regina, complete with just a single bloom. See, now that's not right. This should be a cluster, not a single bloom, but the plant is incredibly weak. And it's had no new growth from the base or new roots for a very long time now. The roots that are on there are practically useless, and this cane here is a kiki from, well, it's actually from the base, so that was the last new growth from the base, and it is still actively growing, so there is life at the base, but nothing new this year. No new roots, no new growths. And then this growth here, which is still growing, is a kiki that starts here, which when I mounted this I put some moss there in the hope that that kiki would grow some roots and maybe be the saviour of the plant. But there's life in that cane, obviously, to be able to produce a bloom. That cane does come from the base. It is in fact this one, the larger one. So that's the plant I've got at the moment. And as I say, it's not Happy Bunny, but this is the one I've got as a backup. So this is also Victoria Regina. And what have you done here, Arthur? Right, now this plant has a stake and a single cane in the pot. And it is wobbling like hell. So that cane that's in the pot is useless. Yeah? It's an old cane. It does have a few leaves still on it, but then what we've got, it was the best one there, out of the few that were there. It's got two kikis coming out from roughly the same place at the base, and both of them have roots. So that part of the plant needs getting in some media. So And as I say, we've got, effectively there's 3 canes, 2 of which are actively growing. So hopefully we can do something a bit better with this one. But I'm going to do a bit of work because there isn't a logical reason why these are not doing well. These are cooler growers. The only thing I can say that might have an effect is they tend to come from pine forests. Well, they're epiphytes in the main, therefore they would be growing on trees in pine forests. Now that's vastly different to a lot of other type of orchid epiphytes, because very, very few of them grow in pine forests. They tend to grow on deciduous or evergreen trees, not pines, not conifers. So the environment you get in a pine forest is quite different. The soil and everything would be quite acidic. But if it's an epiphyte growing on the bark of a tree, does it know? Is that bark different? And that may be a point. I don't know. You know, maybe this needs feeding with a more acidic feed, akin to what. Because the thing is, I don't know. If it rains on a conifer, does it pick up acidity from the tree before it gets down to the ground? Or does that rain not become acidic until it gets down to the ground, where the soil would be acidic or it wouldn't be a pine forest? They don't tend to grow on other types of environments. But I'll try and do a little bit more work and see if I can pinpoint the potential problems with the environment that are stopping this growing as well as it should. Not only as well as it should, but as well as it once did. And then we'll do something with this, which may be add it to this mount. I could add this plant in here with some moss around those kiki roots, and whatever's under the plant with the old cane can just tuck in here. So that's a maybe. So that was one plant that I bought. That wasn't expensive. So it's a young plant basically. It's a young underflowered, probably a large specimen plant split into 20 little pieces, something like that. So that was that one. And then this was the only one in the show. Anywhere. I spotted it and basically immediately said, I'm having that. Then I looked at the label to see what it actually was. And then I got Lynn to look it up on the internet to try and find out what the flowers might be like, which we failed to do actually. But what we've got is a new Miltonopsis. So I said to Arthur, who served me when I bought it, back in there, it is Miltonopsis Bovalande in fact. That's a French word, yeah? So when I got to Arthur, having looked that and got Lynn to look it up, I said to Arthur, I assume that originated in the Eric Young Foundation. He said yes actually, but no. Yes, originally that they produced the hybrid, but we had some of these that went back into the private area to grow on, and they produced some quite good sized plants, so we split them up. We didn't end up with many, but we split them up. And he said they were potted up at the beginning of this year and they rooted in quite well and started growing quite strongly. So, you know, I mean, as you can see, this is one of the latest growths. Lovely big fat bulb. And then we've got another nice new growth here coming on. And it's not a bad plant at all. Not a bad plant at all. Got nice plump bulbs. And obviously a division grown on at Burnham's, and it's pretty firm in the pot. So yes, it has rooted quite well. I still don't trust Miltonopsis where I can't see the roots. So at some point in the not too distant future, I will get that gently out of the pot to see what we're dealing with. And it might not get a total repot if it was done in the spring this year, then the bark's quite fresh and everything, but what I will probably do is get it into the nearest sized clear pot that I can, so that I can see what's going on. Especially with these, because they are finicky. But yeah, so what we're doing is waiting for possibly this new growth to actually flower, to see what we've got. But it will be it will have origins in the Eric Young Foundation, who do some marvellous Miltonopsis hybrids, and that is, you know, as Miltonopsis go when you buy them, it's a good plant. Can't really expect much more. It's a nicely rooted plant. Oh, I tell you what, it might be 2 plants. But we shall see. There's no rush to get that repotted, but I do want to see what's going on in that pot. So yeah, so let's just put the camera back where it was, or somewhere near where it was, somewhere like that. I can just go up in the air for now. It's easier than playing with the other handle. Pick up my cold coffee. Right. So all that's left to do today really is to just say thank you for all the support, like I always do on a Sunday. Don't do it on every video so you don't get it rammed down your throat. But I appreciate the support I get, and at some point obviously the thank yous need to go out. We haven't got any new members on either. That's all right, there's one of the little visitors just running along there. I'm going to have to deal with them, I think. Yes, so thanks to the members, those who do a regular financial contribution either on the channel itself or the Patreon site. That's a regular financial support and is greatly appreciated. And then there's the watching the videos, doing the thumbs up, and this all new hype thing that YouTube have introduced that I am subject to because of my subscriber count. Basically it applies to channels that YouTube see as small starter channels. Yeah, that have only been going nearly 10 years. But they see me as a starter channel, a small channel, because I'm below 500,000 subscribers. I will never get to that number of subscribers. I won't live long enough. And it's not the sort of thing that most orchid channels can ever hope to do. But those above that level are not involved. So it's from 500 to 500,000, which includes me. And it's gradated, so the more subscribers you've got, the less points you're awarded when somebody hypes your video. Yeah? So the lower your subscriber count, the more points you get. The idea is that it averages out, because the smaller channels wouldn't get as many hypes as the bigger ones. So they get more points to try and balance it out. This is all YouTube's idea, not mine. I'm just passing it on. So yeah, that's how it works. You hype a video. You can only do it on the mobile phone app at the moment. It's not available on other devices. And it's basically where the little band where you would tap to put a comment in, you swipe it and the hype details come up and you hype a video, and it allocates the number of points to that video and therefore supports the channel and that video in a new way. This is a new thing that YouTube have introduced, and I'd like people to use it. You know, if it's available to you because you use that type of device, if you think about possibly leaving a comment when you didn't before, because even leaving comments on videos help the channel, because it shows an interaction between the viewer and the creator, which is what YouTube is all about nowadays. So yeah, leaving a comment, even just a simple thing like thanks, it's still a comment. YouTube don't read them all, same as they don't read my replies. They just see it as a numbers thing. The more comments a video has got, the more YouTube believe it's popular, therefore think it ought to be promoted. And if it's getting hype points as well, they'll promote it even more. And the more a video gets promoted, the more chance there is of new people being introduced to the channel, because it will be stuck under their nose and they'll get a choice, an option. So, as I say, all these little things are important. Along with the good old-fashioned thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, it would be nice if you did so. There's no charge. I don't know why they chose that word, I really don't. I wonder what country that originated in. Yeah, no prizes. But at the end of the day, the word subscribed implies subscription, and subscription implies parting with some of your hard-earned pennies. Well, you don't have to. You subscribe for free. It's just a bad choice of word, really. But yeah, subscribing to the channel pushes the subscriber numbers up all the time. So as long as the channel's doing that upward trend, no matter how slow, as long as it's doing an upward trend, YouTube won't ignore it. I won't say they will be breaking their necks to promote my videos, but they won't be ignoring them. It's quite funny, when I go on to the other channel, the gardening and bonsai channel, I become a viewer of this orchid channel. So YouTube sees me as like a customer for this channel. So, you know, if I go and click on one of my videos across the channels like that, I get an option to hype that video. I get an option to like it. You know, I've obviously already subscribed. Subscribed to my own channels, obviously. Well, that way I can get to see the, you know, views and everything. So, anyway. Thanks for the support in whatever shape or form you do it. It is greatly appreciated. But the things you can do specifically, watching the videos, including some of the ads. The ads are what gets the finances changing hands, because it's like getting blood out of a stone, getting money out of YouTube. But that's how it works. People who watch the ads are placed by advertisers that YouTube charge. And when they get watched, YouTube gives some money to the creators. So that's how we get paid as creators. The people who put all the videos up there, without whom there would be no YouTube. What would you do all day? What would I do all day? But yeah, yeah, watching the videos is important. Leaving a comment, doing the thumbs up, and hyping if you have a device that allows you to, and you choose one of my videos. You're allowed 3 a week. So obviously you've got to select. Now you might be a regular viewer of half a dozen channels. Well, you only get to hype 3 videos. Now if you don't watch that many channels, then it's a no-brainer really, is it? But I would suggest and hope that people use their hype votes, not waste them. You all know they're there now, or you do via my channel anyway. I haven't seen any other videos talking about it yet, but I do. Now I know it's there, and if nobody else is talking about it, they're not telling their viewers. If they're not telling their viewers, those hypes are getting wasted, and mine are jumping the queue, because I've told all my viewers. Anyway, I'm going to call it a day. There we go, a day. And I will see you next time. Oh no, I had a wonderful joke. The hell was it? Oh, it's gone. I must start writing some things like that down. No, it's gone. I can't hang around just trying to think of it. So if I think of it while I'm processing these videos, I might do a bit on the end. But otherwise, no orchid video tomorrow. It's my day off. Oh, the other thing I didn't say is I'm I did say I might use my phone to take some stills at the show yesterday. I ended up not doing it because by the time I got round to it, it was after lunch. The crowd had thinned right out, and I just felt that when I took my phone out, I was being watched. So I didn't. So we haven't got a record of the show, which they're very rare. I mean, when Hannah comes along, she can take pictures. She didn't upset anyone. But yeah, so the next show will be the coach trip to Burnham's, which is middle of October, and the RHS Rosemore show. I had a chat with Lynn. She will already be there, so she's doing a mini break either side of that show, so she's going down with her other half and the dogs and everything, and they're having a holiday nearby so that she can still come in and take part with the judging and have a look around the show and everything. So she will be there on the Saturday. It just means if I go, I've got to do the drive both ways on my own. That's not a big deal for me. It's probably about another 20 minutes or so, maybe half an hour, I don't know, because I haven't done the journey before. Farther than Burnham's, and Burnham's I don't mind doing, but it's a little bit farther. The way I plan on going is taking advantage of fast roads, leaving the smaller roads for the very last bit of the journey. You've got that sort of shape, you come along like that and then sort of come back on yourself, but all of this is dual carriageway. And then there's got this little road here that takes you straight there. The alternative is to come off back here and do a lot more of those little roads, but to cut the corner off. So I've chosen to go the two longer sides of the triangle, but one of them is a fast road. But it adds about 5 miles on. What's that on a dual carriageway? 5 minutes. Ish. Maybe. So anyway, you know, it's going to take about 20 minutes longer than going to Burnham's. That's not a big deal. And the journey will take me past my regular breakfast stop. So I can break the journey by getting there when they open at 9 o'clock, having a nice breakfast that will set me up for the day, and then whiz the rest of the journey, which is dual carriageway to that very point where I turn off. And even includes a bit of motorway, so I can whiz the rest of that journey and get there at a reasonable time, probably about 10:15, which will give me a good amount of time there. And there'll be quite a few people there, I know, and there are 2 foreign traders. One's from Ecuador, I believe, and the other one's from Taiwan. Now, we don't get the foreign traders in this country often, but they will have plants that our nurseries don't have. So that's, you know, a bonus. So obviously I should come back with something. That's the middle of October, that. It's a busy month, October. Oh, and I'm filming this on Sunday morning. I'm not at the Wessex Bonsai Society for 2 reasons. One, it's been raining nearly all morning, so all the trees and everything are soaking wet. I don't really want them in the car when they're soaking wet. And in addition to that, it was gone 9:30 when I remembered I should have gone. Still sat in my dressing gown, watching stupid things on YouTube. Actually, it was on Facebook. But either way, I completely forgot about it. And by the time I'd remembered, I thought, it's too flipping late to go along now. And everything's soaking wet, you know, so what would I take? And I'd be handling it, it would all be wet. And I thought, no, we'll give it a miss. So that's why I'm filming this at my normal time, mid to late morning. It's just gone 11 at the moment. So we'll get this processed as normal, get it loaded early afternoon, and we'll go from there. As I say, no orchid video tomorrow, and I don't know what I'll be doing as far as videos are concerned during the coming week. But as we head out of September, we get to the busy time. I've got a large bonsai show to go to. I may have a local bonsai auction to go to, although I'm a bit dubious about that because I don't really want any more bonsai. It's a bit daft going to an auction if you're not buying anything or selling. And then we've got this RHS Rosemore thing, and we've got our own show towards the end of October, and we've got the coach trip to Burnham. So October is a busy month, and then that's it. Nothing till the end of February. So we'll make the most of what we've got. And I will see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.